Welcome back to Sam Roberts Show. With us, it's too loud, isn't it? A little bit. My voice is alarming at this point. Welcome in studio, Kevin Farley.
Yeah.
Who I know best as the experienced member of the boy band 2Gether.
Yeah, I was the older brother type.
Yes. How did you? So obviously you're not into talking about 2Gether, but
well, we can if you want. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I spent a good deal of time. I was of the age where I was somewhat obsessed with the.
Were you?
Yeah.
With the boy band stuff?
Well, not that, the parody of the boy band.
Oh, yeah. You like the joke of it all.
The joke of it.
Sure,
You're like,
sure.
the music? You got the CD and everything,
really
huh?
NSYNC, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not as much. But
right.
I bring that up because, of course, we're going to talk about the documentary, I Am Chris Farley.
Sure.
But I don't think enough people realize that you were kind of performing as Chris was as well. It's not like...
No. Yeah, no, I've been at this thing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you to be performing, because you look, you sound, you're obviously a Farley.
Yeah.
For you to show up before Chris died, when he was at his peak, and you're like, hey, there's another Farley, I'm over here too.
Yeah.
Was it a difficult thing for you?
I don't even try to think about it, you know what I mean? I let other people do that. I just try to keep doing what I like to do. I never really think of it as difficult, you know. I never even really think about it, because there's nothing really I can do about it, So I just keep getting jobs, and I like being an actor.
Right.
I like doing stand up, So I don't know. I mean, I never thought of it as difficult.
What's the stand up like? Like, do you have to go in?
Yeah.
Address that within the first few minutes?
I do. Yeah, I do. I go, I know you guys are all looking like I look like Chris, right?
Right.
So I just address that, and then I make a joke about it, and then we move on.
And then you move forward.
And then we go forward, yeah.
But at no point, did you go through any point where you didn't want to talk about Chris?
Probably early on, I went through a few years. It was so public and it was so bad that, there was a few years I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. How did you...
in the early 2000s or something like that.
Yeah, when it was first all happening and everything.
Yeah.
How did you get past that?
Well, I just think, look, there's nothing you can do. I think that the reason we're doing the documentary is he's still in the conversation people are having. I mean, they still talk about him.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to do the documentary, because, he's still one of those guys that people still talk about,
Well, it was. I was watching.
It's not like he's faded away,
At all.
No, yeah. It's not like he has. I think people still talk about Chris Farley and what he did and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's nothing I'm fine with it. As long as people are respectful, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, we all struggle with things in our life, and as long as people are respectful, then I'm fine talking about it. Yeah.
I thought the documentary was good, and it did a good job of being respectful, but also being honest. Like, you saw frustration on some of Chris's friends and family at the end. It wasn't just like, magical Chris credits. It was obviously the fact that this, you have all this talent in this guy, and then he died the way he did, and the drugs and alcohol played such a role. Like, I think Bob Odenkirk's scene, in the doc was like super powerful, I thought, because it's like that's
right
the real life of it when you go like it's not not all roses,
No, he was very angry, and there's still a lot of people that are very angry, and it's frustrating, and I think when you're dealing with addictions, it's very frustrating. They call it cunning, baffling, and powerful, because it's just, I think that's a lot of the people in this country, whether it's prescription pills or Wellbutrin or Vicodin or Xanax, everybody's got a pill they're popping.
Yeah.
I mean, so people they all have to deal with that on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And as long as people are respectful of it and understand it's a disease, it's not a weakness.
Yeah.
I mean, then we're all right.
That's why there's treatment centers for it.
That's why there's treatment centers.
It's
exactly. Yeah.
You also took away, or I did, watching the documentary, that I think one of the reasons why Chris's stuff holds up so well is that it's timeless. Like, as you're going through, because there's so much footage in the documentary of not only the SNL stuff, but where the SNL stuff came from and what came after and everything. It all still holds up. None of it's dated.
Right.
None of it is anything. It's all, as funny, if not funnier, than a lot of what's on TV now.
Well, because he came from that clown kind of background. He always liked clowns in general. But he he viewed comedy as kind of that way. I think you're a clown. You're there to make people laugh, and that's your job, And so he wasn't political. He wasn't, slice of life type thing. Observational. He was a clown, a fall down, really pure comedy kind of guy, like old school. You don't find the Jackie Gleasons or from that whole old school realm. I think he loved that era,
Did he ever think about pursuing athletics? Because he was an athlete in school.
Yeah, he wanted to be a pro football. He used to always say, I want to be a pro football player. I go, that ain't going to happen. But he was good at football, and he loved it, and he loved to play on the high school team. He just didn't, and later he played rugby. And in college, he liked to be a part of a team. He liked to be part of an organization, especially sports. He loved sports. We all like sports because there was 4 boys in my house, and Mom was not going to allow us in the house for too long because we'd break things. So we all had tons of sports. We were doing sports all the time.
And your dad was a funny guy too.
Really funny guy. Yeah, great salesman. He had his own company, asphalt company. And we worked for him. Sometimes after school when we couldn't find a job.
Was he the type of guy that you look back on now thinking he should have been a performer as well?
Dad would have been a good politician.
Yeah?
Because he liked politics, but he was a great speaker in that way. He had a very commanding presence.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have been like that, but, he had 5 kids and he needed to sell some asphalt.
Right, yeah, because people are buying asphalt
People
now.
are buying asphalt.
They're always going to need asphalt.
Yeah, private school ain't cheap. We got to sell some asphalt.
When Chris first started launching into stardom.
Yeah.
How did you brothers react? Because there's how many brothers are there?
Well, there's 4 boys. So
right.
Yeah. Well, we all reacted like,
this is great.
I thought it was going to be just different for the family. I didn't know if I was really up for being the famous thing.
Right.
Him being famous. It was kind of just shocking a little bit. Like I thought, as soon as he was on SNL, I go, okay, he's not going to be one of those guys that's going to be a flash in the pan. I knew that right away. He's probably going to take that place by storm. So I had an inkling like this is just the beginning of something really weird. I think fame is strange.
Yeah, but you're a performer.
Yeah, but you're a performer, but you just don't it's just a strange thing. And then, he couldn't eventually walk down the street without, because he was so noticeable.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he became the biggest thing in comedy.
Yeah, so
for a while.
I used to tell him, I would be like, we're just going to have to start running from A to B, because if you stop, then the crowd's going to gather. And I'd be like, let's just go to dinner. Come on.
Yeah.
He goes, so we'd have to run a lot of places.
And you really would?
Oh, he'd run. Yeah. He didn't like running either.
No.
So eventually he'd stop and talk to people.
I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this fame thing if I have to run everywhere. This doesn't seem worth it anymore.
He was running everywhere, but then he'd stop and talk to people, and then they'd end up getting bored with him. That was a really weird thing too, because he'd stop and talk to people, fans and stuff, and then they'd be like, "Okay, Chris Farley won't shut up."
Well, when you stop like a celebrity, like you want a photo, you want a hello, and then
move on.
Yeah, once a conversation starts, you're like, I don't know how I got stuck here, but
then Chris would start talking, and they'd be like, "I'm from. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Chris Farley."
Like, Chris, don't you have stuff to do? Isn't there something you're working on or something?
Yeah, right. He would talk to people too much.
Did he enjoy the fame thing?
Yeah, at times, but like I say, you can't turn it off. You wish you could turn it off like a light.
Right.
So it always creeps up when you're not ready for it. And that's when you're like, "Oh, Jesus." It's a pain in the butt.
At any point, did he lose that humility that kind of the documentary shows him as having? Like, they show him going into SNL, and even when his skits were killing, the fact that he wasn't a writer left him with kind of this insecurity of like double checking to make sure he was funny and kind of looking up to writers because they were doing something he couldn't. Once the movies started rolling in and everything, did he come to this realization that?
I wish it was kind of like he was putting on like when he'd get like, I can handle it kind of thing. I think it was just pretending. He was very nervous about his fame. He didn't like it. He didn't. Yeah, I wish he believed in himself a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what I thought after he died. It's very important to have a self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the kids out there, I know kids probably have too much self-esteem these days.
These days, yeah.
But it is important to instill, that no matter what, you're going to be fine. You're going to be all right. If, show business comes and goes, but you're going to be all right. And I just think he was just nervous. He'd have a bad movie or something like that. It would be the end of the world, and we'd all be like, "Come on, it's not the end of the world.
You're gonna have another one.
You're going to have another one. It'll be fine."
Generally speaking, though, you either have a lot of talent or a lot of self-esteem. Like, the people with the most self-esteem are not always the most talented people in the world.
Right. Which is very odd. You're like, that guy should have not that much self-esteem.
Yeah, but then you get jealous. You're like, I would trade in every ability I have to be able to walk through life thinking.
Just a super confident person. Yeah, I think he would always be envious of those guys. Just the guys that could take show business like it's nothing, and they're so confident. And he was always like, "Wow, how do you do that?" I mean, you have a bad movie, but bad reviews would kill him.
Yeah,
they would just really. He'd take it personally.
It was funny watching and seeing him take so much away from people. Like, you saw, David Spade was telling the story about Christian Slater coming into SNL and looking cool, and that's when Chris started slicking his hair back. Because, no, it's cool. And it wasn't like a goof. It was like he wanted to be cool.
He wanted to be cool. He wanted to hang out with Christian Slater and look like Christian Slater, and then Spade would always go, "Oh no, it's sad." That's sad.
That whole thing is strange to me, because usually you usually don't have the athletic background. Like, normally people who are kind of wanting acceptance and wanting to be cool and wanting to make people laugh are doing that because they don't have athletic ability. They don't have another thing that people have been okay with. But for somebody to get accolades for their athletes and athletics growing up.
He was also at ballet. I mean, he took a lot of ballet courses. When you see those cartwheels, he thought ballet was important for comedy just because he needed the flexibility to be able to do a cartwheel or fall on a table or that kind of thing. His comedy was very, very physical, and I don't know if he was alive today to be able to handle all that physicality, but maybe. But he just made sure that he was very flexible, and he could do a cartwheel, and he could do a push-up, or he could do all that kind of stuff. Make sure that he could bounce off the table, and he never put his hands down when he fell. It was always. He'd go right down his face.
Right, or you'd watch him, and he'd just spin and land directly on his back.
Yeah. It's intense. I mean, a lot of his movies, he would come home bruised and battered. At the end of the day, 18 hours of falling on tables.
Yeah.
He'd be pretty tired at the end of the day. Beverly Hills Ninja was a pretty physical movie, too.
What did you think of Beverly Hills Ninja?
I thought it was okay. He thought it was kind of, he didn't like it as much as Tommy Boy, obviously. But
right. It's tough when Tommy Boy's where you start.
Tommy Boy's where you started.
And it's like, that's the one.
I was trying to get back to that Tommy Boy thing, but that was a special movie.
Yeah. What did you think? Because some people, like friends of his, don't like the Chippendale skit and some of the Matt Foley stuff as much as fans do. I guess just because we don't have any sort of closeness. We just see this guy making us laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that as just a guy, like that's what he was doing, is making people laugh, or was it?
I think it was him trying to build himself a career, and he knew that was going to be pivotal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knew that was going to be a home run. I mean, he was smart enough to know that.
Right.
So he's like, okay, do I need a home run? Not a home run. That was a grand slam.
Yeah.
That was a giant thing, and he knew that was going to happen. But he didn't like being fat. He worked at it. He didn't like. He couldn't control his weight. It was tough for him to control his weight, and so. Yeah, I saw when he did that. I knew that he'd be like, "Oh boy," he wouldn't. He didn't like that part of it, But he knew that was his job, and he needed to make a mark on SNL. Or you don't make it in show business.
Yeah, and the level of commitment that he put into it, like that he would just, all right, do I like this? No, but this is what I signed up for. So.
Yeah, you either make a mark on Saturday Night Live or you don't.
Yeah,
and then you don't get a career. And it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did he start taking it so seriously? Like, seriously enough that he would take ballet to improve his comedy?
I think that started in college, and then I think it just continued his, I don't know if he kept doing the ballet, but he remembered a lot of it.
But even in college, he was like...
Yeah, in college.
He was like, I'm going to do this not because I have a passion for dance, but because it'll help with
my comedy.
With everything else.
He started putting everything together in college. Just like, okay, I should just be physical. That's where I'm going to be, a physical comic.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to do, that's my style. And I'm going to just take it to as far as I can take it. He couldn't, He couldn't read or write.
That's not going to happen.
But he could. He just knew what he was good at.
Right.
And there was a lot of things he wasn't good at.
Right.
But he knew what he was darn good at.
And maybe that's
better than you at.
Yeah.
And
that's the point where he's at an SNL. Do I want to take my shirt off? No. But do I want to go learn how to do something?
Write?
Yeah, how to write?
No, I don't.
I want to go learn math? No.
I want to learn math? No.
And it's funny that you say that, too, because I was kind of surprised that growing up, one of the stories in the documentary is he was taking his shirt off like when he was a kid to make people laugh. So he got that immediately. He knew it was funny.
His pants and his shirt off all the time. It was just for a laugh.
Right.
It was everything for a laugh. Yeah.
And that's, I guess you don't realize, a lot of people don't realize until later in life that naked is funny.
It is.
But he knew right away.
He knew right away. Yeah. I mean, you want to get a quick laugh.
Right.
Moon somebody.
Right. Or just take your dick out.
Funny.
And
or
just
take
have
your
it.
dick out.
Take
Boom.
your dick out.
Bam. There's a laugh right there.
Right.
And people think you're crazy, and they go, yes.
Right. Yeah, it's two ways. It's either that's people feel like they're assaulted, like you've assaulted me, or I want to hang out with that guy for the rest of my life. Like
yes.
If he's just going to keep doing that.
Well, there's no, I mean, it does bring into question when you do that. Like, you either love or hate that person that did that.
Yeah.
You either think it's really funny, or you think it's the most repulsive thing you've ever seen in your life.
And then I'm assuming,
but there's no in between when somebody drops their pants.
And then for somebody, no,
there's no.
It's a polarizing action.
It's a polarizing action. Absolutely polarizing.
And then the guy who does it goes, I don't understand. All these people love me. Why didn't everybody love me for it? Why would anybody hate me for this?
Most of the girls didn't appreciate it.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
Some girls would be like, that kid's funny.
Right.
Most girls are like, put your pants on. It's a very polarizing thing to do. Drop your pants.
Yeah.
Very polarizing thing to do.
Yeah. But it's important to take a stand on one side of the issue or the other.
Or the other.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what he understood. He's like, listen, I'm not going to be a wishy-washy about
100%.
Yes,
Whichever
100%.
way we're going, we're going.
We're going 100%. Yeah,
and that's going to be it.
Yes, exactly.
Did you hear the Shrek tapes that came out recently?
What an explosion of internet activity that was.
Yeah. Was that in conjunction with the documentary coming out, or was that just coincidence?
No, I didn't do it. I mentioned it in a Yahoo thing.
Yeah.
In a Yahoo interview, and I said that Chris had done Shrek, and he finished most of the film and then died, and then they had to recast and rewrite, and that's all I said. And then somebody put that out on the internet. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it.
I mean, listening to it and listening to you, I feel like you could have gone like, guys.
Yeah.
I know a guy who sounds just like Chris if there's some money.
I don't know. I mean, I think I thought about doing that, but I was too shook up. I just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to.
Oh no, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't imagine. and also, like, I wouldn't think that like the audience would sit there being like, "Oh,
yeah,
Kevin
finished it." No, thanks.
Quick, right?
I would have gotten blasted.
Yeah, that would blasted. That would have probably been in poor taste.
Yeah, definitely. But it's interesting, and it would have been a different Shrek.
Totally different.
Yeah, it would have been a really different Shrek.
Because Chris didn't do accents.
No, he didn't know how to do accents.
No.
He even said that to Myers. He's like, "Can I be in your sketch?" And Myers would be like, "Can you do a German accent?" And Chris would go, "No." So then Mike would be kind enough to just put him in the background, and Chris would just be like, "Okay, I'll do that."
Because he was likable.
Yeah,
he's likable. No, I can't. He doesn't fit the skit at all.
Accents.
Well, I guess there's a spot to stand.
Can you do that?
You want to stand there? What's the reaction been like from people who have seen the documentary? Have you traveled with it as it's gone from theater to theater?
I have. I've gone some screenings. Last couple days ago, we did Madison. I showed it to my mom, which was nerve-wracking.
What was that like?
She liked it.
Yeah,
she liked it. But I'm glad that's over with. But
yeah,
most people they like it. They like it a lot.
Do you like it?
I do. I like it. I'm very proud of the film.
The way it came out.
Yeah, and Brent Hodge and Derek Murray, those guys did a great job. They put it together. They really worked hard. We've been working on it for like a year.
Why'd you choose now or a year ago or whatever it was to put out this thing?
Well, I just never even thought about it. And then somebody approached me. I work with a guy, Dave Reeder, who just work with his image, Chris's image, and we get some things, offers, I guess. And then this came in, and I'm like, okay, it just came in, and I discussed it with those guys.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought it would be a good idea because people still do talk about him,
Yeah.
And he's not like one of those comedians that gone away, nobody really, is Tommy Boy still played, and after all these years, it's been 17 years.
Well, there hasn't been another. Like, there hasn't been somebody that's even come close
That's another
to
thing.
filling those shoes.
Even though he's my brother, if I look at it objectively, I don't see another comedian like him.
No.
I don't see another guy even prior to Chris or after Chris that's doing or did what he did, his style.
The only thing that even comes up is like Kevin James and some of those roles that he gets could have gone to Chris. But Kevin James couldn't be a more different comic than Chris was.
Oh, very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just a really unique cat,
Mhm.
and I think there's one, like even said Jay Moore at the end of the documentary, you broke the mold. I mean, there wasn't even a mold. It was just, mystical thing. I mean, he was really just a incredibly unique person. People compare him to Belushi, but I don't see that.
Right.
I think people that aren't really looking do that. If you really look at his work, he was very unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Belushi comparisons are all like super, like as surfacey as you can possibly get.
Surfacey as you can get. If you really look at Chris's work, he's very unique.
Yeah, the work itself doesn't really match at all.
No,
with Belushi's work.
Yeah.
I also think one of the unique things is like people come out of SNL with like horror stories about, it was great, but it was the most stressful time of my life. I'm glad I got out when I did, but I'm glad blah blah blah. They said in the documentary that this was the place that Chris actually felt like home.
That's
like
true.
he needed this
this
sort of structure and everything around him. Like I think this is the only documentary. I've read all the books and watched all the documentaries about the SNL people and everything. This is the only one where somebody has been
Somebody said it's a great experience, and
saying that they needed to go back.
Yeah.
To have that sort of in their life.
He was very different that way. I think he was still stressful for him, but he found a way for that show to work. Like he would just go around. He couldn't write.
Right.
So that took away a lot of the stress.
Right. Right. You have any ideas? No.
The guy, I don't have any ideas, but I'll be in your sketch and I'll make it funny.
Right.
So he, the guys that were writing all night and all day, I mean, he wasn't doing that. So he would just come into your office and kind of make jokes, and then they go, okay, we'll put you in this sketch.
Yeah.
Because he was just likable.
Uh-huh.
And they go, okay, we'll put you in this. We'll do this. And then he would just make the most out of every little part that he had, Well,
that's like one line he had with the beard.
With the beard, yeah. He just had one line, and he made the most out of it, So he had, he loved it, and he loved it. He really thought of SNL, and Lauren is like the dad, and then everybody was like brothers and sisters to him,
Do you know
when
Lauren, because Lauren Michaels is part of this and kind of does, there is a paternal thing even when he's talking about Chris now.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was that Lauren took such a liking to him?
I think early on. I think he saw him at Second City and really liked him. I just liked his honesty. Like they said, he was an honest actor.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything he's putting on. And I think Lauren liked that from the start, But he was just always trying to take care of Chris, and he knew he could be a good performer, but he wanted to help him too. So he was really good to Chris, and they had a very close relationship,
Did you ever look at your career as like, so you tried to not think about the shadow thing at all? Like you don't follow what Chris did?
No, God, if I did, that would be weird.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like we just got done talking about how unique this guy is.
My friend said that. Yeah, exactly. He goes, Farley, you should go out on tour and do like Lottie frickin' Da and everything. And I go, you're out of your mind. My God, I would never do that. I could never do that.
Be like Gallagher too. It's like, no, this is not. This is terrible.
Gallagher. They started fighting because I think the other Gallagher started taking over the guy's career.
Yeah. Gallagher won. Sued Gallagher too because he stole. First he gave him permission, and then he just took the act and ran with it.
Yeah,
he
just took the act. That is the best. No, I just try to do. I guess Chris Farley light. I don't know. I have mannerisms are the same. We have.
But it's not like you're sitting there going like, I'm going to do some Chris Farley mannerisms.
No,
no, these are ingrained in the
me.
DNA.
Exactly.
Like,
this is me. We're actually all doing dad anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I just keep doing. I got a few movies this summer, and I have another little movie come. I got to go after this. So I do a lot of independent films, and then do my stand up. And that's my life. I just keep going.
Do you see roles and read them and go like, oh, this is somebody who wants Chris, and they're just putting me in it. I'm not going to do that.
No, I don't think they try to do that to me. I haven't had too much of that, thank God. Knock on wood. I wouldn't do it if I felt like somebody was just, hey, will you just imitate your brother,
Yeah.
No. In fact, I've lost roles. I've gone in and say, hey, we're looking for a Chris Farley type, and then I didn't get it. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think I could do it.
Yeah. I'm like, people think I look like him, and then I don't get that part.
What'd your parents think of you guys going into show business?
Well, it's, they weren't supportive. They're always, Mom still calls me and says, when are you going to give this up?
Really?
Yeah. When are you going to stop this? I'm like, Mom, I'm 50. I don't think I'm going to ride this one out.
Yeah,
I'm going to see what's happening.
Making a living, doing this.
Yeah, I'm making a living. I'm
work.
not asking you for money.
Right.
She goes, well, you're gonna. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
not.
I'm good.
Work at Starbucks. I don't care.
So it's always it's always been that this is not a real career.
No, she's always been. She did that to Chris.
Uh-huh.
She's like, Christopher, that's enough of the movies. Stop it. Stop it. Come home. Get a real job,
Right.
for God's sakes. And Chris would be like, I made a lot of money, Mom. She's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to do with your life.
They're like, Mom, Chris is like the biggest thing in comedy
Biggest
at the moment.
thing in comedy. He's like, no, he
I
isn't.
don't think so at all.
He didn't clean his room. What he didn't do.
Well, listen, everybody should make it a point to see this movie. It's going to be on Spike TV tonight.
Yep, Spike TV tonight, and tomorrow it's on iTunes.
Right, so you'll be able to get it on iTunes
buy it.
and on demand and everything. That's right. You can
Right.
watch it
And then buy it.
and then purchase it.
Yeah.
Now, are you a producer of it? Are you
Executive producer.
Executive
You can call me
producer.
Mr. Executive. I'm the little executive.
That's probably another reason to do the thing. It's like it's kind of nice to know that you have your hands on it.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
not
what
somebody
I wanted.
else telling this story.
Yeah. So that's what I was glad about. I wanted to make it a certain way. I wanted it to be a celebration,
Right.
an honest celebration.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Mhm.
Because you don't sugarcoat anything, but it's also the focus is on
Yeah.
the work and why people are
Still talking about it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot
Yeah,
for being
thanks.
here, Kevin Farley, and for putting out 2Gether.
I was so proud of 2Gether. You plus me equals us. I know my calculus.
Yeah. Did you have any idea that would be as big as it was? Because that was, people may not remember, but it was an MTV made-for-TV movie.
Yep.
It was a boy band parody, it became big enough that it developed into a series.
Yeah, we had a series. We sold 2 gold records. And
For
we
goof
started,
songs.
For goof songs. And then kids started thinking we were a real boy band, and I'm like, I'm out.
Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. They started thinking we're real.
And you're
I'm
like, I can't.
Have you listened to the lyrics?
Yeah.
The hardest part of breaking up is getting back my stuff.
MTV's coming to you like, I know we started this as a parody, guys, but it's starting to work.
And that's what they did. They
And
go,
we're thinking we're going to
"Hey,
take it on tour.
why don't we start really doing this? I'm like, no.
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 Absolutely
I am not in sync. No.
Well, see, and that's the same thing. The Farley boys know what they're good at.
Exactly. We know
Being
how
in
to.
boy bands
We stay in our lane.
is not one of them.
I'm going to stay in my lane.
That's right. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Everybody else stay in their lane. Check out the documentary, I Am Chris Farley. And Kevin, thank you for being here, man.
Thanks a lot.
We'll be
Appreciate
back. Of course, man.
Yeah, and shake my hand.
Yeah.
Or they give me the hug with the aggressive pat on my back.
Right.
That-
Just to
that's-
kind of let you know,
yeah,
hey, look, I'm still in
approval.
charge here, but I approve you.